Have you ever watched a story that slowly pulls you in, and before you even realize it, you're completely lost inside its world? Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is one of those films that doesn't just entertain, it makes you feel every moment. From the very beginning, the movie builds a sense of mystery and tension, where every scene carries meaning and every character hides something deeper beneath the surface. As the story unfolds, you start to see how small decisions lead to unexpected consequences. The film takes you through intense moments, emotional turns, and powerful scenes that keep you hooked till the very end. It's not just about what happens, it's about why it happens and how it changes everything. The characters in this film are not simple. Each one has a purpose, a backstory, and a role that connects to the bigger picture. Their performances bring life to the story, making every scene feel real and impactful. But what truly makes Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, stand out is the way it was created, the vision behind the story, the effort put into its production, and the ideas that inspired it. Every detail, from storytelling to execution, adds something unique to the overall experience. In this video, we're going to break down the complete story, explore the characters, and analyze everything from its creation to its success. And just to be clear, this is not a full movie or a movie screening. It's a detailed review and analysis made for learning and entertainment purposes. So let's begin and take a closer look at Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. There is a moment at the beginning of this story that feels almost quiet, even though everything around it is built for chaos. A child stands in a place that still remembers what peace looks like, and for a few seconds, it feels like the world might stay that way. But if you know anything about the Mad Max universe, you already sense that this calm is fragile. It is not a question of if it will break, it is a question of how violently it will shatter. That tension sits under every frame, and it pulls you in before a single engine even starts. This is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, directed by George Miller, the same mind that turned dust, fire, and metal into something almost poetic. The story centers on Furiosa, played here by Anya Taylor-Joy, with Alala Brown carrying the early chapters of her life. Chris Hemsworth steps in as Dementus, a character who feels unpredictable in a way that keeps you slightly off balance. The tone leans heavily into survival, but it also digs into identity, loss, and the slow shaping of someone who will eventually become a force of nature. Before going deeper, it is important to be clear about one thing. This is not a full retelling of the movie. What you are getting here is a detailed review and breakdown, shaped with interpretation and perspective, designed to give you insight into the story rather than replace the experience of watching it. The goal is to understand how this world works, how the characters evolve, and why certain moments hit as hard as they do. The opening stretches longer than you might expect, and that is a good thing. Instead of rushing into explosions and chases, the story takes time to build a contrast. You are introduced to a place called the Green Place, and it feels almost unreal compared to everything associated with Mad Max. There is water, there is vegetation, and there is a sense of structure that does not rely on violence. It creates a baseline, something stable, so that when it is taken away, you actually feel the loss rather than just observe it. Young Furiosa exists in this environment with a kind of quiet curiosity. She is not yet hardened, not yet shaped by brutality. Her actions feel natural, almost playful at times, but there is also a subtle awareness in her behavior. She notices things, she reacts quickly, and there is a sense that she is already learning how to survive even in a place that does not demand it. That detail matters because it shows that her strength did not appear out of nowhere later in life. Her mother, Mary Jabassa, carries a strong presence without needing excessive dialogue. There is a protective energy in the way she moves and the way she watches over Furiosa. You can feel that she understands the outside world in a way the child does not yet fully grasp. That difference creates a quiet tension because it hints that this safe place is not as isolated as it appears. The shift begins with something small. A moment of curiosity leads Furiosa slightly beyond the boundaries of safety. It is not framed as a reckless decision, more like a natural extension of a child wanting to explore. But this world does not forgive even small steps in the wrong direction. The tone changes subtly, almost like the air itself becomes heavier. This is where the first real sense of danger enters, and it does not arrive loudly. A group connected to Dementis appears, and their presence feels wrong immediately. There is no need for dramatic buildup. The contrast between them and the green place is enough to signal that something is about to go very wrong. Their behavior lacks restraint, and even in stillness, they carry the threat of violence. Furiosa's capture is handled in a way that avoids unnecessary exaggeration. It feels sudden, disorienting, and deeply unfair. One moment she belongs to a place that nurtures life, and the next she is pulled into a reality that treats people as resources. That shift is not just physical, it is emotional, and you can feel the confusion mixed with fear as she is taken away. Mary's response is immediate and intense, but it is not chaotic. There is a focus in her actions that shows experience. She does not panic, she acts. The pursuit that follows becomes the first real taste of the film's kinetic energy, but it is grounded in something personal. This is not just a chase for spectacle. It is a mother trying to reclaim her child from a world that does not care about bonds like that. The landscape plays a huge role here. The further Furiosa is taken, the more the environment transforms. The colors fade, the textures become harsher, and the sense of life starts to disappear. It feels like the world itself is stripping away anything soft or forgiving. That visual transition mirrors what is happening internally to Furiosa, even if she does not fully understand it yet. Dementis is introduced not as a simple villain, but as a presence that is difficult to predict. There is a strange charisma in the way he carries himself. He is not constantly shouting or asserting dominance in obvious ways. Instead, he shifts between calm and chaos, which makes him more unsettling. You cannot easily anticipate what he will do next, and that unpredictability becomes a key part of the tension. The dynamic between him and his group reveals a structure that is built on power but held together loosely. Loyalty feels temporary, almost transactional. That atmosphere creates a sense that violence can erupt at any moment, not just toward outsiders but within the group itself. It adds another layer of instability to Furiosa's situation. Mary's pursuit continues, and it becomes clear that she is willing to push beyond limits that most would accept. There is a physical toll in her movements, but she does not slow down. That determination adds weight to every second of the chase. You are not just watching action unfold, you are feeling the urgency behind it. When confrontation finally happens, it does not resolve cleanly. The encounter between Mary and Dementis is tense, and it carries an emotional charge that goes beyond survival. There is anger, there is desperation, and there is a clear understanding that this moment will define what comes next. The outcome does not offer comfort. Instead, it pushes the story into a darker direction. For Furiosa, this becomes the point where childhood begins to fracture. She is forced to process loss in a way that is immediate and overwhelming. There is no space for gradual understanding. Everything changes at once, and she is left in a situation where survival becomes the only priority. What stands out here is how the film avoids turning this into a simple revenge setup. Instead of rushing into a clear goal, it allows the emotional impact to settle. Furiosa does not instantly transform into the person she will become later. There is confusion, there is pain, and there is a sense of being lost in a world that operates on entirely different rules. The pacing in this is deliberate. It does not rush past the consequences of what happens. Each moment lingers just enough to let you absorb the shift in tone. That choice makes the later developments feel earned, because you understand what has been taken from her and what she is now forced to become. Dementis, in his own way, begins to shape Furiosa's path without directly guiding it. His presence represents the kind of world she must learn to navigate. He is not a teacher, but he is an example of the kind of force that dominates this environment. Observing him becomes part of her survival, even if she resists everything he stands for. As the story settles into this new reality, the sense of scale expands. The world outside the green place is vast, harsh, and filled with factions that operate under their own rules. Furiosa is now a small part of that system, but even at this stage, there is a hint that she will not remain insignificant. The emotional core remains strong through all of this. It is not just about what is happening, but how it is affecting her internally. The silence in certain moments speaks louder than any dialogue. You can feel the weight of what she has lost and the uncertainty of what lies ahead. The story has moved from innocence into survival, from stability into chaos. Furiosa's journey has only just begun, but the direction is clear. She is now part of a world that will test every aspect of who she is, and the process of becoming the Furiosa known later has quietly started. The film does not rush to explain everything. It trusts the audience to sit with the discomfort, to observe the details, and to understand that this transformation will take time. That patience becomes one of its strongest qualities, because it allows the story to breathe even in a setting that feels constantly on the edge of collapse. This first chapter focuses less on action for the sake of excitement and more on building emotional stakes. When the larger conflicts arrive later, they will carry more weight because of what has been established here. Every choice, every reaction, and every moment of silence contributes to a larger arc that is just beginning to unfold. The world does not pause to let Furiosa process what she has lost. It keeps moving, harsh and indifferent, and she is forced to move with it whether she is ready or not. The shift from the green place to this wasteland is not just a change in scenery, it is a complete reset of how life works. Every action now carries risk, and every moment demands awareness. That pressure begins shaping her almost immediately, even if she still carries the emotional weight of everything that just happened. Dementus does not treat her like a child in need of care. He treats her like something he has acquired, something that holds potential value. That difference is important because it strips away any illusion of protection. She is not being guided, she is being absorbed into a system where usefulness determines survival. The way he observes her suggests curiosity, not empathy, and that distinction creates an uneasy dynamic between them. The group surrounding Dementus operates with a chaotic rhythm that feels unpredictable at first but starts to reveal its own patterns over time. There is movement, noise, and constant tension between individuals who are bound together more by necessity than trust. Furiosa watches all of this closely. She does not speak much, but her silence is active. She is learning, measuring, and trying to understand where she fits in this structure. One of the first lessons she encounters is the concept of scarcity. Resources are limited, and that limitation drives behavior in a way that feels almost instinctive. Water, fuel, and even basic safety are treated as assets that must be controlled. This environment forces people to make decisions that would seem unthinkable in a stable world. Furiosa begins to see how quickly morality can shift when survival is on the line. Dementus himself becomes more layered as time passes. He carries a strange mix of humor and cruelty, shifting between the two without warning. There are moments where he appears almost relaxed, even playful, but those moments never feel safe. They feel like a pause before something unpredictable happens. That instability keeps everyone around him on edge, including Furiosa. There is a subtle power in the way Furiosa responds to him. She does not openly challenge him, but she does not fully submit either. Her reactions are controlled, measured, and often restrained. It is as if she is holding something back, preserving a part of herself that this world has not yet managed to break. That internal resistance becomes one of the most important aspects of her character. As the group moves deeper into the wasteland, the scale of the world begins to reveal itself more clearly. This is not just an empty desert. It is a network of territories, each controlled by different factions with their own rules and hierarchies. The sense of isolation is real, but it is paired with the constant threat of encountering others who may be even more dangerous. The journey leads toward a larger settlement, one that operates with a level of organization that stands in contrast to the chaos of Dementus's group. This place feels structured, almost industrial, and it introduces a new layer to the world. Survival here is still brutal, but it is managed through systems rather than pure unpredictability. That shift creates a different kind of tension. Furiosa's arrival in this environment marks another turning point. She is no longer just trying to survive within a roaming group. She is now part of a larger machine, one that assigns roles and expects function. The transition is not smooth. She is still carrying the instincts of someone who has been uprooted, and adjusting to this new structure requires a different kind of awareness. The presence of Immortan Joe begins to loom over this section of the story, even before he fully steps into focus. His control over resources, particularly water, establishes him as a figure of immense power. This is not a leader built on chaos like Dementis. This is control through dominance and systemized authority. The contrast between the two men becomes clear, and Furiosa is caught between these different forms of power. What makes this phase of the story compelling is how it forces Furiosa to adapt without losing herself entirely. She begins to understand that survival here is not just about strength. It is about positioning, observation, and timing. Acting too quickly can be just as dangerous as doing nothing at all. That realization starts to shape her behavior in subtle ways. Her interactions with others remain limited, but they are meaningful. Every exchange carries weight because trust is rare. Even small gestures can signal intention, and misreading those signals can lead to consequences. Furiosa learns to read people carefully, to notice the details that reveal more than words ever could. The environment itself continues to play a major role in shaping the tone. The heat, the dust, and the constant sense of exposure create a physical pressure that never fully fades. It affects how people move, how they speak, and how they make decisions. There is no comfort here, only varying degrees of control over discomfort. Dementis' presence does not disappear in this new setting. Instead, it evolves. His interactions with other factions reveal a different side of him, one that is capable of negotiation but still rooted in unpredictability. He does not fit neatly into any system, and that makes him both dangerous and difficult to manage. Furiosa observes this closely, understanding that power can take many forms. At the same time, the memory of the green place remains with her, even if it is not openly acknowledged. It exists as a contrast, a reminder of what the world could be. That memory becomes a quiet source of strength, something that keeps her from fully accepting the brutality around her as normal. It is not hope in a traditional sense, but it is not gone either. As days pass, the initial shock of her new reality begins to settle into something more controlled. She is no longer reacting purely out of fear. She is starting to anticipate, to plan, and to adjust her behavior based on what she has learned. This shift is subtle but important. It marks the beginning of her transformation from a victim of circumstance into someone who can navigate it. There is a moment where her gaze lingers on the machinery and movement around her, and it feels significant. It is not just curiosity. It is analysis. She is beginning to understand how this world functions at a deeper level. That understanding will matter later, but even now, it signals that she is not simply enduring her situation. She is studying it. The pacing here remains controlled, allowing each development to feel earned. The story does not rush to push her into action. Instead, it focuses on the gradual buildup of awareness and resilience. This approach makes her eventual decisions feel grounded in experience rather than sudden change. Dementis continues to act as a chaotic force within this more structured environment, and his influence creates tension that feels ready to break at any moment. His goals are not entirely clear, and that ambiguity keeps the situation unstable. Furiosa exists within that instability, learning to maintain her composure even when the ground beneath her feels uncertain. The emotional weight of her past does not disappear, but it changes form. It becomes quieter, less immediate, but still present. It influences how she reacts, how she trusts, and how she chooses when to act. That internal layer adds depth to every decision she makes, even when those decisions are small. Furiosa is no longer the same person who was taken from the green place. The transformation is still in its early stages, but it is clearly underway. She has begun to understand the rules of this world, even if she does not accept them. That distinction keeps her grounded in something beyond pure survival. The story continues to build without revealing too much too quickly. It trusts the slow progression, allowing tension to develop naturally. Furiosa's journey is still unfolding, and the path ahead remains uncertain. What is clear is that she is no longer just reacting to the world around her. She is beginning to shape her place within it, one careful step at a time. Time moves differently in this world, Not because the days are longer, but because every moment demands attention. Furiosa begins to settle into a rhythm that is built around observation rather than reaction. She watches how people behave when they think no one is paying attention. She studies the small decisions that reveal who holds real power and who is simply pretending. This quiet phase of learning becomes one of the most important stages in her transformation. The structure of Immortan Joe's domain becomes clearer as Furiosa spends more time within it. It is not just a place of survival, it is a controlled ecosystem where every resource is measured and distributed with intent. Water is not simply consumed, it is used as a tool of control. The people who depend on it are kept in a state of need, which ensures their loyalty. Furiosa begins to understand that power here is not only about strength, it is about control over what others cannot live without. She is eventually placed among the lower tiers of this system, where labor and obedience are expected without question. The environment feels suffocating in a different way than the open wasteland. Here, the danger is not always visible. It exists in the rules, in the expectations, and in the consequences of stepping out of line. That kind of pressure forces a different kind of awareness, one that is less about immediate threats and more about long-term survival. Furiosa adapts carefully. She does not draw attention to herself, but she does not disappear either. There is a balance in how she carries herself, enough to avoid becoming a target, but not so much that she becomes invisible. This balance allows her to move through the system while continuing to learn from it. Every day adds another layer to her understanding of how things work. Dementus, still moving within this larger world, begins to reveal more of his intentions. He is not content with simply existing within someone else's system. There is ambition in his actions, a desire to reshape the balance of power in a way that benefits him. His methods remain unpredictable, but there is a growing sense that he is working towards something larger than simple survival. Furiosa's connection to him becomes more complicated as a result. He is both a reminder of where her pain began and a constant presence in the world she now inhabits. She cannot ignore him, but she also cannot confront him directly. That tension creates an internal conflict that simmers beneath the surface. It is not yet ready to erupt, but it is building. Within Immortan Joe's domain, the War Boys introduce another layer to the hierarchy. They are devoted, almost ritualistic in their behavior, and their loyalty feels absolute. Furiosa observes them with a mix of caution and curiosity. Their mindset is so different from her own that it almost feels alien. They do not question their purpose, and that lack of doubt gives them a kind of dangerous clarity. This environment begins to shape how Furiosa thinks about identity. She is no longer just the girl from the green place, but she is not yet the person she will become. She exists in a space between those two versions of herself, trying to hold on to what matters while adapting to what is necessary. That tension defines many of her choices during this phase. There is a moment where she witnesses the distribution of water, and it leaves a lasting impression. The way it is controlled, the way people react to it, and the way power is reinforced through it all come together in a single scene. It is not loud or dramatic, but it carries a strong message about how this world operates. Furiosa does not just see it, she understands it. Her role within this system begins to shift slightly as she proves her usefulness. Small tasks lead to slightly larger responsibilities, and with each step, she gains a bit more access to how things function behind the surface. This progression is not presented as a reward. It is simply a change in position, one that comes with its own risks and expectations. The mechanics of the vehicles, the movement of supplies, and the coordination required to keep everything running start to draw her attention. There is something in that complexity that speaks to her instincts. She begins to see patterns, to understand how different parts connect, and to imagine how those connections could be used in different ways. This is not yet a plan, but it is the beginning of strategic thinking. Dementus continues to move through this world like a force that does not fully belong to it. His interactions with Immortan Joe carry an undercurrent of tension that never fully disappears. There is respect in a limited sense, but it is overshadowed by ambition and mistrust. Furiosa watches these exchanges carefully, recognizing that power here is constantly shifting, even if it appears stable on the surface. The emotional distance she maintains becomes one of her strongest tools. She does not allow herself to become fully attached to anyone or anything in this environment. That distance protects her, but it also isolates her. It is a necessary trade-off, one that allows her to survive but comes at the cost of connection. Despite this, there are brief moments where something softer tries to surface. A glance, a hesitation, or a memory that refuses to fade completely. These moments are fleeting, but they matter because they show that she has not been completely shaped by this world. There is still something within her that resists becoming like the people around her. As her awareness grows, so does her sense of timing. She begins to understand when to act and when to wait. This patience becomes a defining trait. It is not passive. It is active restraint, a decision to hold back until the right moment presents itself. That ability will become crucial later, but here it is still developing. The tension between the different factions continues to build in subtle ways. Conversations carry hidden meanings, actions hint at larger intentions, and the balance of power feels increasingly unstable. Furiosa exists within this shifting landscape, absorbing information without revealing her own intentions. There is a growing sense that she is no longer just surviving. She is preparing, even if she has not fully defined what she is preparing for. This shift is internal, not yet visible to those around her. It exists in the way she watches, the way she thinks, and the way she holds herself in moments of pressure. The world around her remains unforgiving, but it no longer feels completely overwhelming. She has begun to find a place within it, even if that place is temporary. This does not mean she accepts it. It means she understands it well enough to navigate it. Dementus's influence continues to linger, shaping the broader conflicts that are slowly coming into focus. His presence ensures that stability remains fragile, and that fragility creates opportunities as well as danger. Furiosa recognizes this, even if she has not yet decided how to use it. The foundation of her transformation has deepened. She is no longer defined solely by what happened to her. She is beginning to define herself through her actions, her choices, and her growing understanding of the world around her. The journey is still in its early stages, but the direction is becoming clearer. The story continues to unfold with patience, allowing each layer to build on the last. Furiosa's path is not driven by sudden change, but by steady evolution. Every moment adds something, whether it is knowledge, strength, or resolve. And as these elements come together, the person she will become starts to take shape, even if she does not yet fully see it herself. By this, Furiosa is no longer just adapting to the system around her, she is beginning to move within it with intent. The shift is subtle, almost invisible to those who are not paying close attention, but it is there in the way she positions herself during tasks and in how she listens more than she speaks. Her awareness has sharpened to the point where she can anticipate reactions before they happen. That ability gives her a quiet advantage, one that she guards carefully. The Citadel continues to function like a living machine, with every level feeding into another. Furiosa starts to see how deeply everything is connected. Fuel, water, manpower, and control all move through channels that are tightly managed. Nothing here is accidental. Even chaos is often contained within boundaries that serve a larger purpose. Understanding that changes how she views every interaction. Her role begins to place her closer to the mechanical side of operations, where vehicles are not just tools but lifelines. These machines represent mobility, power, and escape all at once. Furiosa's attention to detail becomes more pronounced here. She studies how engines respond, how parts wear down, and how repairs are handled under pressure. This is not simple curiosity anymore. It is preparation without a defined endpoint. There is a noticeable calm in her movements when she is around machinery. It contrasts with the tension she carries in other parts of the Citadel. This calm is not comfort, but focus. It allows her to think clearly in an environment that is otherwise designed to overwhelm. That clarity becomes one of her strongest assets as she continues to evolve. Dementus, on the other hand, grows more restless within this structured world. His nature does not align with controlled systems, and that friction begins to show more openly. His actions start to carry more risk, and his interactions with Immortan Joe become sharper, less restrained. The balance between them feels increasingly unstable, as if it is only a matter of time before something breaks. Furiosa observes this tension without getting caught in it. She understands that direct involvement would be dangerous, but she also recognizes that conflict creates openings. These moments of instability can shift power in ways that are not always predictable. Her focus remains on understanding when those shifts occur and how they might be used. The War Boys continue to operate with unwavering loyalty, but Furiosa begins to notice cracks in that devotion. Not all of them carry the same intensity, and some show brief moments of hesitation or doubt. These moments are small, almost easy to miss, but they suggest that even the most rigid systems have weak points. Furiosa stores these observations, adding them to the growing map in her mind. There is a scene where a convoy is being prepared, and it becomes a turning point in how she sees her role. The coordination required, the precision in timing, and the reliance on each component working perfectly all stand out to her. This is not just movement, it is strategy in motion. For the first time, she begins to see how control over vehicles could mean control over outcomes. Her involvement in these preparations increases slightly, and with it comes more access. She is still not in a position of authority, but she is close enough to observe the decision-making process. That proximity allows her to understand not just how things are done, but why they are done that way. This deeper level of insight starts to shape her thinking in new ways. Dementus's ambitions begin to surface more clearly during this phase. He is not content with being a player within someone else's system. There is a sense that he wants to disrupt the existing order and replace it with something that serves him better. His methods remain unpredictable, but the direction of his intent becomes harder to ignore. Furiosa's internal conflict continues to develop alongside these external tensions. She carries the memory of her past, but she is also deeply embedded in her present reality. The two do not align, and that misalignment creates a constant pressure within her. She cannot return to what she was, but she also refuses to fully become what this world expects her to be. There are moments where she tests small boundaries, not in ways that draw attention, but in ways that allow her to measure reactions. A slight delay, a different approach to a task, or a choice that deviates just enough to provide new information. These tests are controlled, deliberate, and always calculated. They help her understand how much freedom she truly has. The environment remains harsh, but it no longer feels entirely foreign to her. She has learned its rhythms, its expectations, and its dangers. This familiarity does not make it safe, but it makes it predictable in certain ways. That predictability becomes something she can work with, rather than something that constantly works against her. Dementus's interactions with his own followers begin to shift as well. The loose structure that once defined his group starts to strain under the weight of his ambitions. Loyalty becomes more fragile, and the sense of unity begins to weaken. This change adds another layer of instability to the world around Furiosa. She watches how power is maintained and how it begins to slip. She sees the difference between control that is enforced and control that is believed in. Immortan Joe's authority is built on both, while Dementus leans more heavily on force and unpredictability. These differences are not just philosophical. They have real consequences in how each system holds together under pressure. As Furiosa continues to grow, her silence becomes more intentional. It is no longer just a response to trauma or caution. It is a choice. She speaks when necessary, but she relies more on observation and action. This controlled communication gives her an advantage, allowing her to gather more than she reveals. There is a growing sense that she is approaching a point where observation alone will not be enough. The knowledge she has gained is starting to demand application. She cannot remain in this phase indefinitely. The world around her is shifting, and eventually, she will have to decide how she wants to move within it. The tension between the Citadel and external forces continues to build quietly. It is not yet an open conflict, but it is present in the way decisions are made and in the precautions that are taken. Furiosa notices these changes, understanding that something larger is beginning to take shape. Her connection to the machines deepens during this time. They represent more than function. They represent possibility. Movement, escape, and control all exist within them. This realization begins to take root in her mind, even if she has not yet acted on it. Furiosa stands at a point where she is no longer simply enduring her circumstances. She is beginning to engage with them on her own terms, even if those terms are still limited. Her transformation continues to build, layer by layer, shaped by every observation and every decision. The story maintains its steady pace, allowing each development to feel grounded and intentional. There is no rush to push her into action before she is ready. Instead, it focuses on the accumulation of knowledge and the slow formation of intent. That approach ensures that when she finally moves, it will feel earned. The world around her remains unstable, filled with competing forces and shifting alliances. Within that instability, Furiosa is becoming something more than a survivor. She is becoming someone who understands the system well enough to challenge it. That change is still in progress, but it is no longer subtle. It is beginning to define her. The shift from observation to intention does not happen with a single decision. It builds slowly, almost quietly, until it becomes impossible to ignore. Furiosa reaches a point where watching is no longer enough. The knowledge she has gathered starts to press against her, pushing her toward action. It is not reckless, and it is not sudden. It feels like the natural next step for someone who has spent so long preparing without realizing it. Her connection to the machinery around her begins to translate into skill. What once looked like complex systems now starts to feel familiar. She understands how different parts interact, how small adjustments can change performance, and how control over a vehicle can shift the outcome of a situation. This is where her growth becomes visible, not through words, but through competence. There is a noticeable change in how others perceive her, even if they cannot fully define it. She is still not someone who draws attention, but she is no longer overlooked. People begin to recognize that she is capable, that she can be relied on in certain situations. This recognition brings both opportunity and risk. Being useful can keep you alive, but it can also place you closer to danger. The Citadel continues to operate under strict control, but the tension within it is becoming harder to ignore. Small disruptions begin to appear, not enough to break the system, but enough to reveal its vulnerabilities. Furiosa pays attention to these moments. They are not just problems to be solved, they are indicators of where the structure is weakest. Dementus's presence grows more aggressive during this phase. His patience seems to be wearing thin, and his actions reflect a desire to push boundaries rather than test them. The balance between him and Immortan Joe becomes more strained, with each interaction carrying a sharper edge. Furiosa watches this carefully, understanding that when powerful figures begin to clash, the consequences spread far beyond them. There is a sequence involving a convoy that becomes particularly significant for her. The preparation, the movement, and the coordination required all come together in a way that highlights both the strength and the fragility of the system. Furiosa is closer to the action this time, not just observing from a distance, but participating in a limited capacity. The experience changes her perspective. She begins to see how quickly control can shift once a convoy leaves the safety of the Citadel. Out in the open, structure gives way to uncertainty. Plans can fall apart, and survival depends on quick thinking and adaptability. This realization reinforces something she has been building internally. Control is never absolute, no matter how strong a system appears. During this movement, the environment asserts itself in a more direct way. The wasteland is not just a backdrop, it is an active force. The terrain, the heat, and the unpredictability all play a role in shaping what happens. Furiosa responds to this with a level of awareness that sets her apart. She is not just reacting, she is anticipating, adjusting her actions based on what she senses around her. Dementus's influence becomes more visible during these operations. His approach to conflict is less about precision and more about impact. He creates disruption, forcing others to react to him rather than the other way around. This style is effective in the short term, but it also creates instability that can spiral out of control. Furiosa recognizes both the strength and the weakness in this approach. Her internal conflict continues to evolve alongside these external pressures. The memory of her past is no longer just a source of pain. It becomes a reference point, something she compares her current reality against. This comparison fuels a quiet determination, not driven by immediate revenge, but by a deeper need to reclaim some form of control over her own life. There are moments where she begins to test her abilities in more deliberate ways. Small adjustments to how she handles tasks, subtle changes in how she responds to situations. These are not acts of defiance, but acts of exploration. She is learning what she can do, how far she can push, and where the limits truly are. The people around her continue to operate within their own roles, but Furiosa starts to see them less as fixed parts of the system and more as variables. Each person has their own motivations, their own weaknesses, and their own breaking points. Understanding this adds another layer to her growing strategic mindset. The war boys, in particular, become more complex in her eyes. Their devotion is still strong, but it is not as uniform as it first appeared. Some are driven by belief, others by fear, and a few by something that feels closer to habit. These differences matter, even if they are not immediately obvious. Furiosa begins to factor them into how she reads situations. As the convoy sequence unfolds, there are moments where things do not go according to plan. These disruptions are not catastrophic, but they are enough to reveal how quickly order can break down. Furiosa's reactions during these moments are controlled and precise. She does not panic, and she does not hesitate unnecessarily. She adapts. This adaptability marks a clear step forward in her transformation. She is no longer just someone who survives by enduring. She is becoming someone who can influence outcomes, even if only in small ways for now. That shift is critical because it changes how she fits into the world around her. Dementus continues to push against the boundaries of the system, and the consequences of his actions begin to ripple outward. His ambition creates opportunities, but it also increases the level of danger for everyone involved. Furiosa understands that his presence is both a threat and a catalyst. He destabilizes the world, and in doing so, he creates space for change. Back within the Citadel, the effects of these tensions begin to surface more clearly. Decisions become sharper, reactions quicker, and the sense of control feels slightly more forced. It is as if the system is working harder to maintain itself. Furiosa notices this shift, recognizing that stability is becoming more fragile. Her relationship with the environment around her continues to evolve. The machinery, the structure, and even the people are no longer just elements she navigates. They are pieces she is beginning to understand as part of a larger system that can be influenced. This understanding does not yet translate into a clear plan, but it lays the groundwork for one. There is a growing sense that she is approaching a turning point. The accumulation of knowledge, experience, and internal resolve is starting to demand expression. She cannot remain in this phase indefinitely. The world around her is changing, and she is changing with it. The emotional core of her journey remains present, even as her external behavior becomes more controlled. She has not forgotten where she came from, and that memory continues to shape her decisions. It keeps her grounded, even as she adapts to a world that constantly tries to reshape her. Furiosa stands in a space that feels different from where she began. She is still within the system, still bound by its rules, but she is no longer defined by them. She has begun to carve out a sense of agency, even if it is limited. The story continues to build with patience, allowing each layer of her transformation to settle before moving forward. The tension between the major forces in this world is becoming harder to contain, and Furiosa is now in a position where she can begin to engage with that tension rather than simply endure it. This is where the journey starts to shift from preparation to potential action. The foundation has been laid, the awareness is there, and the pressure is building. What comes next will not be accidental. It will be the result of everything she has learned, everything she has endured, and everything she is becoming. The pressure that has been building around Furiosa finally begins to take a more defined shape. It is no longer just internal growth or quiet observation. The world around her starts to demand responses, and the margin for staying unnoticed becomes thinner. Every movement now carries more weight because the system itself is becoming more unstable. This is where her preparation starts to meet real consequences. Her role within the Citadel shifts again, not dramatically, but enough to place her closer to the core of operations. The tasks she handles begin to require more precision, more trust, and more awareness of the bigger picture. This change is not presented as a reward. It feels more like a test, whether intentional or not. She is being placed in positions where mistakes are not easily forgiven. The war rig becomes a central presence in her world during this phase. It is not just another vehicle. It represents scale, coordination, and responsibility. The complexity of managing something like this requires a level of focus that goes beyond basic survival. Furiosa is drawn to it, not out of fascination, but because she recognizes its importance. Control over something this significant could shift the balance in ways that smaller actions cannot. Her growing familiarity with the mechanics of the war rig allows her to see it differently from others. Where some see a tool, she sees a system within a system. Every component matters, and every decision tied to it has consequences that extend beyond a single moment. This perspective deepens her understanding of how power operates in this world. Dementus, meanwhile, becomes more direct in his actions. The subtle tension that once defined his presence begins to give way to more open disruption. He pushes against the boundaries set by Immortan Joe with increasing confidence, testing how far he can go before facing serious resistance. This escalation adds a new layer of urgency to everything happening around Furiosa. The interactions between these two forces grow sharper, more calculated, and less restrained. There is a sense that both are aware of the inevitable conflict, even if neither has fully committed to it yet. Furiosa observes this carefully, understanding that when this tension breaks, it will not be contained. It will reshape the environment she has learned to navigate. Within the Citadel, the response to this growing instability is subtle but noticeable. Security tightens, movements are monitored more closely, and decisions are made with a greater sense of caution. The system is adjusting to protect itself, but these adjustments also reveal its vulnerabilities. Furiosa begins to see where pressure is being applied and how the structure responds to it. There is a moment during a preparation sequence where something small goes wrong, and the reaction to it feels disproportionate. This overreaction highlights the level of tension within the system. It is no longer operating from a place of confidence. It is reacting from a place of concern. Furiosa takes note of this, recognizing that even strong systems can become fragile under the right conditions. Her own actions become more deliberate as a result. She is no longer just testing boundaries out of curiosity. She is beginning to consider outcomes. Every choice is weighed, every risk evaluated. This shift marks a deeper level of control in her behavior. She is not just learning anymore. She is applying what she has learned in small but meaningful ways. The war rig sequences continue to play a significant role in her development. Being around something so critical exposes her to the coordination required to keep larger operations functioning. Timing, communication, and trust all become essential elements. Furiosa absorbs these lessons, understanding that control is not just about strength, but about how different parts work together. Dementus's approach to power continues to contrast sharply with everything the Citadel represents. He thrives in disruption, using unpredictability as a weapon. This creates situations where control is difficult to maintain, forcing others to react rather than plan. Furiosa recognizes the effectiveness of this approach, but she also sees its limits. Chaos can open doors, but it can also close them just as quickly. Her internal conflict begins to take on a new dimension. It is no longer just about who she was and who she is becoming. It is about what she is willing to do moving forward. The world around her is forcing choices that cannot be avoided indefinitely. Each path carries its own consequences, and there is no option that allows her to remain unchanged. There are moments where she begins to imagine outcomes, not in a detailed way, but in a conceptual sense. What happens if control shifts? What happens if the system breaks? What happens if she takes a more active role in shaping events? These thoughts are not fully formed plans, but they signal a shift in how she views her place in this world. The people around her continue to operate within their roles, but the tension affects everyone. Conversations feel shorter, movements more purposeful, and trust even more limited than before. Furiosa navigates this environment with increasing precision, understanding that mistakes are more costly now than they were before. The war boys, still deeply loyal, begin to show signs of strain under the growing pressure. Their belief remains strong, but the environment is testing it in ways that expose small inconsistencies. Furiosa notices these details, adding them to her understanding of how even the most rigid systems can be affected by external stress. Dementus's actions begin to create visible consequences, not just in isolated moments, but across the broader structure of the world. His influence spreads, forcing reactions from multiple sides. This expansion of conflict raises the stakes for everyone involved, including Furiosa. Her connection to the war rig deepens further during this phase. It becomes more than just a machine she understands. It starts to feel like a potential tool for change. The idea is not fully formed, but it is present. Control over something like this could create opportunities that do not exist within the current structure. The pacing of the story reflects this growing tension. Moments feel tighter, more focused, and more charged with potential. The slow build from earlier parts begins to show its purpose. Everything that has been established is now starting to interact in more dynamic ways. Furiosa's transformation continues to evolve, moving from preparation into early stages of intent. She is no longer simply adapting to the world. She is beginning to consider how she might influence it. This shift is still controlled, still measured, but it is undeniable. The emotional core of her journey remains steady beneath all of this. The memory of what she lost continues to guide her, even as her methods become more aligned with the harsh reality around her. This balance between past and present gives her actions a depth that goes beyond simple survival. The sense of an approaching turning point becomes stronger. The tension between major forces is close to breaking, and Furiosa is positioned in a way that she cannot remain unaffected. She has the knowledge, the awareness, and the growing capability to act. The story holds back from pushing into full conflict just yet, allowing the pressure to build a little longer. This restraint keeps the anticipation high and ensures that when things do shift, they will carry the weight of everything that has come before. Furiosa stands on the edge of a new phase in her journey. The groundwork has been laid, the stakes have been raised, and the world around her is beginning to move in ways that demand a response. What comes next will not just shape her path, it will begin to define it. The tension that has been building does not explode all at once. It tightens first, like a system under strain, where every part continues to function but only just enough to hold together. Furiosa can feel that pressure in the way people move around her. There is less wasted motion now, fewer careless decisions, and a sharper edge to every interaction. The world has not changed suddenly, but it has become less forgiving. Her position near the war rig continues to shape her understanding of control. It is no longer just about knowing how things work. It is about recognizing how small disruptions can ripple outward and affect entire operations. She begins to notice how dependent everything is on timing. A delay of seconds can force adjustments that carry real consequences. This awareness changes how she approaches even the smallest tasks. The war rig itself starts to feel less like a machine and more like a responsibility. Being near it means being close to decisions that matter. Furiosa does not yet hold authority over it, but she understands its significance in a way that sets her apart. That understanding creates a quiet sense of ownership, even if it is not officially recognized. Dementus continues to push against the structure of the Citadel, but his approach becomes more calculated. The earlier unpredictability is still there, but now it is directed. He is no longer just creating chaos for its own sake. He is testing responses, measuring limits, and looking for weaknesses that can be exploited. This shift makes him more dangerous, not less. Furiosa watches these developments with a growing sense of clarity. She begins to see the larger pattern forming. This is not just tension between two powerful figures. It is the beginning of a shift that could change how the entire system operates. The realization does not come with panic. It comes with focus. Within the Citadel, adjustments continue to be made in response to this pressure. Movement is more controlled, access is more restricted, and roles are enforced with greater intensity. The system is trying to protect itself by tightening its grip, but that tightening creates its own kind of strain. Furiosa notices how this affects the people within it. There are moments where communication breaks down, where instructions are followed without full understanding, and where hesitation creeps into actions that once felt automatic. These moments are small, but they reveal something important. The system is not as stable as it appears. It is being held together through effort, not certainty. Furiosa begins to take more initiative in subtle ways. She does not step outside her role openly, but she adjusts how she performs within it. Small decisions are made with greater intention, and her actions begin to reflect a deeper level of control. She is no longer just responding to instructions. She is interpreting them. This shift does not go completely unnoticed. There are brief glances, small acknowledgments from others who begin to recognize her capability. These moments are not enough to change her position, but they signal that her presence is being registered in a different way. She is no longer just part of the background. The war boys continue to operate with strong loyalty, but the pressure is beginning to affect them more visibly. Their energy remains intense, but there are cracks in their consistency. Some react more aggressively than necessary, while others hesitate at critical moments. Furiosa observes these variations, understanding that belief alone cannot hold everything together under constant strain. Dementus's influence begins to stretch further across the landscape. His actions are no longer contained to isolated encounters. They begin to impact supply lines, movement patterns, and the broader balance between factions. This expansion of influence increases the stakes for everyone, including those within the Citadel. Furiosa starts to connect these larger movements with the smaller details she observes daily. She sees how external pressure affects internal behavior. Decisions made at the top ripple down, altering the environment in ways that are not always obvious at first. This layered understanding becomes a key part of her growing strategic awareness. There is a moment during a routine operation where something feels off before anything actually goes wrong. It is not a visible issue, but a sense that the timing is not aligned. Furiosa adjusts her actions slightly, compensating for something she cannot fully explain yet. When a minor disruption does occur, her adjustment prevents it from becoming a larger problem. This moment marks a clear step forward in her development. She is no longer just reacting to events as they happen. She is beginning to anticipate them based on patterns she has learned. This ability gives her a level of control that goes beyond her official role. The emotional distance she maintains continues to serve her, but it also begins to shift slightly. It is no longer just a protective barrier. It becomes a tool that allows her to think clearly in situations where others might be overwhelmed. She does not detach completely, but she manages her reactions in a way that keeps her focused. Dementus's interactions with Immortan Joe grow more direct during this phase. The underlying tension that once remained controlled now starts to surface more openly. Their exchanges carry a weight that suggests both are preparing for something inevitable. Furiosa watches these interactions closely, understanding that they will shape what comes next. The Citadel responds by reinforcing its structure even further. Roles become stricter, expectations higher, and tolerance for deviation lower. This tightening creates a more rigid environment, but it also reduces flexibility. Furiosa recognizes that systems under this kind of pressure can become brittle. Her connection to the war rig continues to deepen. It is no longer just about understanding how it works. She begins to think about how it could be used differently. The idea is still forming, not yet a plan, but it is present. The possibility of using something so central to the system in a new way begins to take shape in her mind. The pacing of the story reflects this growing sense of readiness. The slow build from earlier parts now feels like it is approaching a point of release. Every detail that has been established begins to align, creating a sense that something significant is close. Furiosa's transformation reaches a stage where her internal growth is starting to match the external demands of her environment. She is no longer preparing in isolation. The world around her is creating conditions that will require action, and she is becoming capable of meeting that requirement. There is still restraint in how she moves forward. She does not rush into decisions, and she does not act without purpose. This control remains one of her defining traits. It ensures that when she does act, it will be with intention rather than impulse. The balance between preparation and action feels closer than ever. The tension between major forces is no longer just building. It is beginning to shift. Furiosa stands at a point where her understanding, her skill, and her awareness are aligning in a way that positions her for what comes next. The story continues to hold back from full escalation, allowing the anticipation to build even further. This restraint keeps the focus on character and development, ensuring that when the conflict fully emerges, it will carry the weight it deserves. Furiosa is no longer just part of the system. She is becoming someone who can navigate it with purpose and, eventually, challenge it. That transition is not complete yet, but it is no longer distant. It is approaching, step by step, with every choice she makes. The world around Furiosa reaches a point where stillness starts to feel unnatural. The tension that once built slowly now lingers in every corner, refusing to fade. It is present in the way engines idle a little longer than necessary, in the way conversations stop abruptly when certain figures pass, and in the way decisions are made with less hesitation but more consequence. This is no longer a phase of quiet preparation. It feels like the last stretch before something shifts. Furiosa senses this change not through a single event, but through a pattern that becomes impossible to ignore. Movements are more deliberate, but also more urgent. Orders carry a sharper tone, and the margin for error continues to shrink. She adapts to this pressure by narrowing her focus. Distractions disappear. Every action is tied to awareness, and every observation is stored with purpose. Her connection to the war rig evolves further during this stage. It is no longer just about understanding its mechanics or recognizing its importance. She begins to internalize its role within the larger system. The war rig is movement, supply, and control combined into one force. Whoever commands it does not just travel across the wasteland. They influence the balance between survival and collapse. This realization begins to settle deeply within her thinking. It is not yet a decision, but it is no longer just an idea. The war rig represents a possibility that stands apart from everything else she has encountered. It offers a form of agency that cannot be easily ignored. That awareness grows stronger with every moment she spends near it. Dementus continues to expand his influence, but his approach now carries more structure than before. The chaos that once defined him starts to show signs of direction. He is still unpredictable, but his actions are no longer scattered. They are connected, each one feeding into a larger pattern that begins to take shape across the wasteland. Furiosa notices how this shift affects the Citadel. The response becomes more controlled, but also more intense. Preparations are made with greater urgency, and there is a constant sense that something is being anticipated. The system is no longer just maintaining itself. It is bracing for impact. Within this environment, Furiosa's role becomes more active, even if it is not officially recognized. She begins to take initiative in ways that blend seamlessly into her responsibilities. Adjustments are made before they are requested. Problems are addressed before they escalate. These actions do not draw attention in a dramatic way, but they build a quiet reputation. The people around her start to respond differently, even if they do not fully understand why. There is a subtle shift in how they rely on her, how they react to her presence, and how they interpret her actions. This change is not spoken, but it is felt. It places her in a position where her influence begins to extend beyond her assigned role. The war boys continue to reflect the strain of the environment. Their energy remains intense, but it is no longer consistent. Some push harder, driven by the need to prove their devotion, while others show brief signs of uncertainty that quickly get buried under routine. Furiosa observes these fluctuations carefully, understanding that instability often reveals itself through inconsistency. There is a moment during a preparation phase where multiple elements begin to fall slightly out of sync. Timing is off, communication is strained, and the usual flow of operations feels disrupted. Furiosa steps in subtly, adjusting her actions to compensate. She does not take control openly, but her influence helps restore balance before the situation can escalate. This moment reinforces something she has been building internally. Control does not always require authority. It can exist in awareness, in timing, and in the ability to act without drawing attention. This understanding becomes a key part of how she navigates the increasingly unstable environment. Dementus's presence begins to feel closer, even when he is not physically near. His actions ripple outward, affecting decisions and behaviors across the system. Furiosa starts to connect these effects, seeing how one move leads to another, how pressure applied in one place creates weakness in another. This layered understanding deepens her strategic perspective. Her internal conflict continues to evolve, but it becomes more focused. The questions she once carried begin to narrow into something more defined. It is no longer about whether she will act, but how and when. The uncertainty that once surrounded her begins to give way to intention. The environment itself seems to reflect this shift. The wasteland feels less like an unknown force and more like a terrain she can read. She understands how conditions change, how movement is affected, and how different factors come together to shape outcomes. This familiarity does not make it safe, but it makes it navigable. There are brief moments where her past surfaces more clearly, not as overwhelming emotion, but as sharp reminders. These moments do not slow her down. They sharpen her focus. They remind her of what was taken, but also of what she still carries within her. That balance continues to define her actions. The war rig becomes central to multiple operations during this phase, increasing its visibility and importance. Furiosa's proximity to it places her in a position where she can observe not just its function, but its vulnerabilities. She begins to see where control can be challenged, where patterns can be disrupted, and where opportunity might exist. Dementus's ambitions begin to intersect more directly with the operations of the Citadel. The distance between conflict and confrontation continues to shrink. There is a growing sense that both sides are moving toward a point where restraint will no longer be possible. Furiosa positions herself carefully within this shifting landscape. She does not rush forward, but she does not hold back unnecessarily. Her actions are measured, each one contributing to a larger sense of readiness. She is no longer just gathering knowledge. She is aligning it. The pacing of the story tightens further, reflecting the growing urgency of the situation. Moments feel more connected, more purposeful, and more charged with potential. The slow build from earlier parts now feels like it is reaching a stage where movement cannot be delayed much longer. Furiosa's transformation reaches a level where her internal and external worlds begin to align. Her understanding, her skills, and her intentions are no longer separate elements. They are starting to work together. This alignment marks a significant step in her journey. There is still restraint in how everything unfolds. The story does not rush into full conflict, but it no longer hides the fact that it is coming. The signs are clear, the pressure is real, and the conditions are set. Furiosa stands at a point where she is ready in a way she has never been before. Not because she has all the answers, but because she understands the questions. She knows the system, she sees its weaknesses, and she recognizes the role she could play within it. The world around her is on the edge of change, and she is no longer just a part of it. She is becoming a factor in it. That shift is quiet, controlled, and deliberate, but it carries the weight of everything that has come before. What follows will not be shaped by chance. It will be shaped by decisions, by timing, and by the ability to act when the moment finally arrives. The shift that has been building finally begins to reveal itself in clearer ways, not through a single explosion of action, but through a series of movements that feel more decisive than anything before. The world around Furiosa is no longer holding tension quietly. It is starting to act on it. The change is subtle at first, but it carries a weight that is impossible to ignore once it sets in. Furiosa senses this shift in the way operations are planned and executed. There is less room for adjustment, fewer second chances, and a stronger emphasis on precision. The margin for error has tightened to the point where even small mistakes can create consequences that ripple outward. This environment demands a level of focus that goes beyond survival. It requires control. Her connection to the war rig reaches a new level during this phase. She is no longer just near it or learning from it. She begins to engage with it more directly, understanding not just its structure, but its behavior under pressure. The way it moves, the way it responds to terrain, and the way it carries weight all become part of her awareness. This connection feels almost instinctive now. There is a moment where she adjusts something minor during a preparation sequence, and the result is immediate. The system responds more smoothly, more efficiently, and without the friction that might have slowed it down before. This moment is small, but it confirms something important. Her understanding is no longer theoretical. It is functional. Dementus's actions begin to push the world closer to open conflict. The careful tension that once defined his presence gives way to more direct challenges. He is no longer just testing the boundaries of the system. He is starting to press against them with intent. This escalation forces responses that cannot remain controlled for much longer. Within the Citadel, the reaction to this pressure becomes more visible. The structure remains intact, but the effort required to maintain it is increasing. Orders are given more quickly, decisions are enforced more strictly, and the sense of urgency becomes harder to conceal. Furiosa observes this with a growing sense of clarity. She begins to see how systems behave when they are pushed beyond their comfort zone. They do not collapse immediately. They tighten, they adapt, and they try to hold together. But in doing so, they often reveal the very weaknesses they are trying to hide. Furiosa starts to recognize these patterns, storing them as part of her evolving strategy. Her role within this environment continues to expand in subtle ways. She is trusted with more responsibility, not because she has demanded it, but because she has proven her capability through consistent action. This trust is limited, but it is enough to give her access to moments that matter. The war boys, still driven by their devotion, begin to show more pronounced signs of strain. Their energy remains intense, but it is less controlled. Some act with increased aggression, while others struggle to maintain the same level of certainty. These differences create small fractures within their otherwise unified presence. Furiosa pays close attention to these shifts. She understands that unity built on pressure can become unstable when that pressure increases. The more force applied, the more likely it is that something will give. This understanding adds another layer to how she reads the environment around her. Dementus's influence now reaches into areas that were previously stable. Supply routes, movement patterns, and even decision-making processes begin to reflect his presence. This expansion of impact makes it clear that the conflict is no longer distant. It is approaching directly. There is a sequence where multiple elements begin to intersect at once. Movements from different groups align in a way that feels intentional, even if it is not fully coordinated. Furiosa finds herself in the middle of this convergence, where timing becomes critical and awareness becomes everything. Her response during this sequence highlights how far she has come. She does not hesitate, and she does not overreact. She reads the situation as it unfolds, making adjustments that keep her aligned with the flow of events. This level of control is not accidental. It is the result of everything she has learned up to this point. The environment plays a more active role during this phase, adding layers of complexity to every movement. The terrain shifts, visibility changes, and conditions become less predictable. Furiosa adapts to these changes with a level of awareness that sets her apart from those around her. Dementus continues to push forward, but his approach begins to carry more risk. The balance between strategy and unpredictability starts to tilt, and the consequences of that shift begin to show. His actions create opportunities, but they also introduce instability that is difficult to control. Furiosa recognizes this dual nature. She sees how his disruption weakens the system, but she also understands that chaos without direction can become just as dangerous. This awareness shapes how she thinks about her own potential actions moving forward. Her internal conflict becomes more focused than ever. The questions that once lingered in the background now demand clearer answers. She cannot remain in a passive role much longer. The world around her is changing too quickly, and her position within it is becoming more significant. There are moments where she begins to connect her past with her present in a more direct way. The memory of where she came from is no longer just a source of emotion. It becomes a guide, influencing how she interprets what is happening around her. It gives her a sense of direction, even in a world that feels unstable. The war rig stands at the center of many of these developments, its importance growing with each passing moment. Furiosa's connection to it becomes more than practical. It starts to feel like a key, something that could unlock possibilities that are otherwise out of reach. The pacing of the story continues to tighten, with each scene carrying more weight and more consequence. The slow build from earlier parts has created a foundation that now supports more dynamic movement. Everything feels connected, and nothing feels unnecessary. Furiosa's transformation reaches a stage where her actions begin to influence outcomes in noticeable ways. She is no longer just adapting to the system. She is interacting with it, shaping small moments that contribute to larger shifts. This change marks a significant step forward in her journey. The tension between major forces is now close to breaking. The careful balance that once held everything together is starting to give way to more direct confrontation. Furiosa stands at the edge of this shift, fully aware that what comes next will demand more from her than anything before. The sense of inevitability becomes clear. The world cannot maintain its current state much longer. The pressure has reached a point where release is unavoidable. Furiosa is ready in a way that feels earned, built from every moment that has led her here. The story holds for just a little longer, allowing the final pieces to fall into place. But the direction is clear. The next phase will not be about preparation or observation. It will be about action and the consequences that follow. The moment that has been building for so long does not arrive with a warning. It unfolds through movement, through decisions that cannot be taken back, and through a shift in momentum that changes everything around it. The tension that once sat quietly beneath the surface now breaks into action, and the world responds immediately. There is no hesitation left in the system. Everything begins to move. Furiosa feels this change before she fully sees it. The rhythm of operations alters in a way that signals something larger is happening. Orders are sharper, reactions quicker, and the usual structure begins to stretch under pressure. This is not a controlled adjustment. It is the beginning of a real shift, one that forces everyone to respond in real time. Her position near the war rig places her at the center of this transition. What once felt like preparation now becomes immediate responsibility. The machine is no longer a symbol of potential. It is active, essential, and directly tied to what is unfolding. Furiosa's focus sharpens as everything she has learned begins to come into play at once. The movement of the war rig during this phase carries a different energy. It is not just about transport or supply. It becomes part of a larger response, something that must operate with precision under pressure. Furiosa engages with it in a way that feels instinctive now. Her understanding of its mechanics translates directly into action, and every decision she makes has immediate consequences. Dementus's influence reaches a peak during this sequence. His actions push the system into a state where control becomes difficult to maintain. What once felt like calculated disruption now turns into direct confrontation. The balance between forces begins to break, and the results spread quickly across the environment. The Citadel responds with force, but the response is not as smooth as it once would have been. The strain that has been building begins to show in the way decisions are executed. There are moments of hesitation, moments where coordination falters just enough to create openings. Furiosa notices these details even as she remains focused on her own role. The environment adds another layer of intensity to everything happening. The wasteland is not neutral. It amplifies movement, complicates decisions, and forces constant adjustment. Visibility shifts, terrain changes, and conditions create challenges that cannot be ignored. Furiosa moves through this with a level of awareness that reflects her growth. There is a sequence where timing becomes critical, where multiple actions must align perfectly to maintain control. Furiosa steps into this moment without hesitation. Her decisions are precise, her movements controlled, and her focus unwavering. This is where her transformation becomes fully visible. She is no longer preparing. She is performing under pressure. Dementus's approach during this confrontation reveals both his strength and his limitations. His ability to create disruption is undeniable, but the lack of consistent control begins to work against him. The chaos he generates affects everyone, including his own position. Furiosa sees this clearly, understanding that unpredictability can only go so far before it creates instability that cannot be managed. The war boys, driven by their devotion, throw themselves into the unfolding conflict with intensity. Their actions are bold, but not always coordinated. The strain on the system affects them as much as anyone else, and their responses reflect the pressure they are under. Furiosa navigates around this energy carefully, using awareness rather than force to maintain her position. Her connection to the war rig becomes the anchor that holds everything together for her. It is the one element she can control with certainty in a situation that is otherwise fluid. She relies on that control, using it to stabilize her actions and maintain direction even as the world around her shifts rapidly. There are moments where the structure of the system seems close to breaking entirely. Coordination slips, communication becomes strained, and the usual flow of operations is disrupted. Furiosa moves through these moments with a clarity that sets her apart. She does not try to control everything. She focuses on what she can influence. Dementus continues to press forward, but the consequences of his actions begin to catch up with him. The instability he has created starts to limit his ability to maintain momentum. His presence remains powerful, but it is no longer as controlled as it once seemed. This shift creates new dynamics within the conflict. Furiosa begins to see opportunities within this chaos, not as clear paths, but as openings that did not exist before. The system is no longer operating at full strength. It is reacting, adjusting, and trying to recover. These conditions create space for movement that would have been impossible earlier. Her internal conflict reaches a point where it no longer holds her back. The questions that once slowed her down are replaced by decisions that feel grounded and clear. She knows what she is capable of, and she begins to trust that capability. This trust becomes a driving force behind her actions. The pacing of the story accelerates during this section, but it does not lose clarity. Every moment carries weight, and every action connects to what came before. The build-up from earlier parts pays off here, allowing the movement to feel earned rather than rushed. Furiosa's actions begin to influence the outcome of events in more direct ways. She is no longer operating within the system. She is interacting with it, shaping how it responds to the pressure around it. This shift marks a critical point in her journey. The war rig remains central to everything unfolding, its presence tying together multiple elements of the conflict. Furiosa's control over it becomes a key factor in how events progress. Her understanding allows her to navigate situations that would overwhelm others. Dementus's position becomes more complicated as the conflict intensifies. The balance between his ambition and the reality of the situation begins to shift. His influence remains strong, but it is no longer unchecked. The consequences of his actions start to close in around him. The world has moved fully into a new phase. The tension that once built slowly has transformed into active conflict. The system is no longer stable, and the balance of power is beginning to change in real ways. Furiosa stands within this shift, no longer as an observer or a participant in the background, but as someone who is actively shaping what happens next. Her journey has reached a point where her actions carry real impact, and the path ahead is no longer uncertain in the same way it once was. The story does not slow down here. It holds its momentum, pushing forward into the consequences of everything that has been set in motion. The foundation has been laid, the conflict has begun, and Furiosa is now fully part of it. What comes next will not be about whether she can survive. It will be about what she chooses to do with the control she has gained and how far she is willing to go. The momentum that has taken hold does not slow down once it begins. It carries forward with a force that reshapes everything in its path, turning what was once controlled tension into a series of unfolding consequences. Furiosa is now fully inside this movement, no longer navigating around it but moving with it, shaping small outcomes that feed into larger ones. The shift is no longer theoretical. It is real, immediate, and demanding. The war rig continues to serve as her anchor in the middle of this instability. Its presence gives her something solid to rely on, even as everything else becomes unpredictable. She moves with a level of confidence that reflects how deeply she understands it now. Every sound, every vibration, and every response from the machine feeds into her awareness, allowing her to adjust without hesitation. The environment around her feels more volatile than ever. The wasteland responds to movement with resistance, forcing constant adaptation. Terrain shifts under pressure, visibility changes without warning, and the margin for error continues to shrink. Furiosa navigates these challenges with precision, her actions guided by instinct that has been sharpened through experience. Dementus's position within this conflict begins to show signs of strain. His earlier momentum, built on disruption and unpredictability, starts to encounter resistance that cannot be easily overcome. The chaos he created has spread far enough that it begins to affect his own ability to control outcomes. This shift does not weaken him entirely, but it changes the balance in ways that are hard to ignore. Furiosa notices this change in how he operates. His actions carry more urgency, and the calculated edge that once defined him begins to blur. There are moments where his decisions feel reactive rather than strategic. These moments are brief, but they signal a shift in his control over the situation. Within the Citadel's influence, the response to the ongoing conflict becomes more aggressive. The system is no longer trying to maintain balance. It is pushing back, attempting to reassert control through force and coordination. This response adds another layer of intensity to everything unfolding around Furiosa. The war boys remain committed, but the strain of continuous conflict begins to affect their consistency. Their devotion drives them forward, but their actions are not always aligned. Some push beyond what the situation requires, while others struggle to maintain the same level of focus. Furiosa moves through this dynamic carefully, using awareness to avoid being caught in unnecessary risk. There is a sequence where multiple elements collide at once, forcing rapid decisions that cannot be delayed. Furiosa steps into this moment with clarity, her actions precise and controlled. She does not attempt to dominate the situation. She focuses on guiding it, making adjustments that keep her aligned with the shifting flow of events. This approach sets her apart from others who rely purely on force or instinct. Her strength lies in her ability to read the situation as it evolves, to understand not just what is happening but what is about to happen. This foresight allows her to act with purpose, even in the middle of chaos. Dementus continues to push forward, but the consequences of his earlier actions begin to close in around him. The instability he created now limits his ability to maintain control. His influence is still present, but it is no longer as dominant as it once was. Furiosa sees this clearly, recognizing that power built on disruption can become fragile when it faces sustained resistance. Her internal state reflects a similar shift, but in a more controlled way. The uncertainty that once defined her has been replaced by a sense of direction. She is no longer questioning her place within this world. She is defining it through her actions. This clarity allows her to move forward without hesitation. The war rig becomes central to a series of critical movements during this phase. Its role expands beyond simple function, becoming a key element in how the conflict unfolds. Furiosa's connection to it allows her to influence these movements in ways that others cannot. Her control over it translates directly into control over her immediate environment. There are moments where the structure of the system seems to falter under the pressure. Coordination slips, timing breaks down, and the usual patterns of operation become less reliable. Furiosa navigates these disruptions with a level of calm that reflects her growth. She does not try to restore order completely. She works within the disruption, using it to her advantage. The environment continues to amplify the intensity of every moment. Heat, dust, and movement combine to create conditions that demand constant awareness. Furiosa responds to these challenges with precision, her actions guided by a balance between instinct and understanding. Dementus's interactions with opposing forces become more direct, and the consequences of these encounters grow more severe. The balance that once allowed him to operate with freedom begins to tighten. His options become more limited, and the risks associated with his decisions increase. Furiosa observes these changes closely, understanding that the shifting balance of power creates opportunities as well as danger. She begins to position herself in ways that allow her to respond to these changes effectively. Her actions remain controlled, but they carry a growing sense of purpose. The pacing of the story remains intense, with each moment building on the last. The earlier groundwork continues to support this progression, ensuring that every development feels connected and meaningful. Nothing happens in isolation. Every action feeds into the larger movement of the story. Furiosa's transformation reaches a point where her influence becomes undeniable. She is no longer reacting to the world around her. She is shaping it in small but significant ways. This shift marks a critical stage in her journey, one where her choices begin to define not just her path, but the direction of the conflict itself. The War Boys, despite their devotion, continue to show signs of strain under the ongoing pressure. Their actions remain intense, but their consistency continues to fluctuate. Furiosa uses this to her advantage, navigating around their unpredictability with careful timing. Dementus's position becomes increasingly unstable as the conflict progresses. The control he once held begins to slip, replaced by a more reactive approach. This change creates new dynamics within the conflict, opening possibilities that were not present before. By the end of this section, the conflict has moved beyond its initial phase. The balance of power is shifting, and the consequences of earlier actions are beginning to take shape. Furiosa stands within this movement as an active force, no longer defined by what has happened to her, but by what she chooses to do next. The story continues to push forward without slowing, carrying the momentum into the next stage of development. The foundation has been tested, the conflict has evolved, and Furiosa is now positioned at the center of it all. What follows will not be about survival alone. It will be about control, consequence, and the choices that shape what remains when the dust begins to settle. The conflict reaches a stage where it no longer feels contained within any single space. It spreads across movement, decisions, and consequences that continue to build on each other without pause. Furiosa is no longer adjusting to the chaos. She is moving through it with intention, making choices that carry weight beyond the immediate moment. The shift is clear now. She is not reacting anymore. She is directing, even if only in controlled, focused ways. The war rig remains central to everything unfolding, but its role evolves further. It is no longer just a tool or an anchor. It becomes a platform for action, something that allows Furiosa to translate her understanding into impact. Her connection to it feels complete now. Every movement is deliberate, every adjustment precise. There is no hesitation left in how she handles it. The environment continues to push back against every attempt at control. The wasteland resists structure, forcing constant adaptation. Dust clouds distort visibility, terrain challenges stability, and the unpredictability of movement keeps everyone on edge. Furiosa navigates this with a level of awareness that reflects everything she has learned. She does not fight the environment. She works with it. Dementus's position begins to fracture more visibly during this phase. The momentum he once carried has been disrupted, and the instability he created now surrounds him. His actions become more urgent, less controlled, and increasingly reactive. The balance that once allowed him to dominate through unpredictability starts to slip. Furiosa observes this change without distraction. She sees the difference in how he moves, how he responds, and how his decisions begin to lose the precision they once had. This shift does not make him less dangerous, but it makes him more vulnerable. The unpredictability that once gave him strength now creates openings. Within the broader conflict, the Citadel's influence continues to push back with force, but the strain is evident. Coordination holds, but only with effort. Timing works, but not always perfectly. The system is functioning, but it is no longer seamless. Furiosa recognizes that this is what pressure looks like when it begins to take effect. There is a sequence where multiple movements intersect again, but this time the stakes feel higher. The margin for error has narrowed even further, and every decision carries immediate consequences. Furiosa steps into this moment with complete focus. Her actions are not just precise. They are confident. She begins to take control in ways that are no longer subtle. The adjustments she makes influence not just her own position, but the flow of events around her. This is where her transformation becomes undeniable. She is no longer operating within limits. She is beginning to push against them. The war boys, still driven by their belief, continue to act with intensity, but the strain of ongoing conflict has altered their consistency. Their movements are strong, but not always aligned. Furiosa uses this to her advantage, navigating through their unpredictability with calculated precision. Dementus continues to push forward, but the consequences of his earlier actions now shape his present. The instability he created limits his options, forcing him into decisions that carry greater risk. Furiosa recognizes this pattern, understanding that his strength is now tied to conditions that are no longer fully under his control. Her internal state reflects a level of clarity that has been building for a long time. The uncertainty that once defined her has been replaced by purpose. She understands what she is capable of, and she begins to act on that understanding without hesitation. This shift marks a critical point in her journey. The war rig becomes the center of several critical moments during this phase, and Furiosa's control over it allows her to influence outcomes directly. She does not just respond to events. She shapes them. This ability sets her apart from everyone else in the conflict. There are moments where the system around her seems to falter under pressure, where coordination breaks down and timing slips. Furiosa moves through these disruptions with calm precision, using them as opportunities rather than obstacles. This approach reflects a deeper level of control than anything she has shown before. The environment continues to challenge every movement, but it no longer feels like an obstacle to her. It feels like a factor she understands, something she can account for in her decisions. This shift in perception allows her to operate with greater confidence. Dementus's position becomes increasingly unstable as the conflict intensifies. The control he once maintained begins to slip further, replaced by urgency that drives him into more direct confrontation. Furiosa sees this clearly, recognizing that the balance of power is shifting. Her actions begin to carry a sense of inevitability. Each decision feels like a step towards something larger, something that has been building since the very beginning of her journey. The connection between her past and her present becomes stronger, guiding her without slowing her down. The pacing of the story remains intense, but it does not lose focus. Every moment is tied to what came before, creating a sense of continuity that keeps the movement grounded. The build-up from earlier parts continues to pay off, allowing the progression to feel natural. Furiosa's transformation reaches a stage where her influence is no longer limited to small moments. She is actively shaping the direction of the conflict, using everything she has learned to navigate a situation that would overwhelm others. This marks a significant shift in her role within the story. The war boys continue to operate with intensity, but their consistency remains affected by the pressure they are under. Furiosa uses this instability to maintain her position, moving with awareness that allows her to avoid unnecessary risk. Dementus's influence continues to weaken as the consequences of his actions take hold. His presence remains strong, but it is no longer dominant. The balance between him and opposing forces shifts further, creating new possibilities within the conflict. The transformation of Furiosa is fully visible. She is no longer the child who was taken, nor the observer who learned in silence. She is someone who understands the system, who can navigate it, and who can influence it. The conflict continues to move forward, carrying the weight of everything that has led to this point. The balance of power is changing, and Furiosa stands at the center of that change. The story does not slow down. It pushes into the next phase with momentum, building on the foundation that has been established. What comes next will not just test her abilities. It will define what she chooses to become when the path ahead demands more than control. The conflict no longer feels like something that can be contained or redirected. It has reached a stage where every movement carries consequence, and every decision feeds directly into what follows. Furiosa stands fully inside this flow now, not searching for direction but creating it in real time. The world around her continues to shift, but she is no longer adjusting to it. She is moving with purpose, shaping her path through the instability. The war rig becomes more than just a center of action. It turns into a point of control that allows Furiosa to dictate pace, direction, and response. Her connection to it feels complete, almost seamless. Every adjustment she makes reflects a level of understanding that goes beyond skill. It is instinct combined with experience, refined through everything she has endured. The environment continues to resist control, but Furiosa uses that resistance to her advantage. She reads the terrain, the movement of dust, and the shifting visibility with precision. What once felt like obstacles now become factors she can anticipate and work with. This shift in perception allows her to maintain control even when conditions are unpredictable. Dementus's presence in the conflict begins to change in a more visible way. The confidence that once defined his actions starts to fracture under pressure. His movements remain aggressive, but they carry a sense of urgency that was not there before. The balance he once maintained between unpredictability and control begins to slip further. Furiosa notices this immediately. She sees how his decisions start to lean more toward reaction than intention. This does not make him less dangerous, but it makes him more exposed. The chaos he once commanded now surrounds him, limiting his ability to shape outcomes in the same way. Within the broader system, the Citadel continues to push back with force, but its response reflects the strain it has been under. Coordination still exists, but it is no longer flawless. Timing works, but not without effort. The system is holding, but only just. Furiosa understands what this means. It is not stability. It is resistance under pressure. There is a sequence where movement becomes relentless, where decisions must be made without pause. Furiosa steps into this phase with complete control over her actions. She does not hesitate, and she does not overextend. Every choice is measured, every movement aligned with her understanding of the situation. Her influence during this sequence becomes more direct. She is no longer guiding events from within. She is actively shaping them. The adjustments she makes affect the flow of the conflict, creating outcomes that would not exist without her presence. This is where her transformation reaches a new level. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but their consistency remains affected by the pressure. Their movements are strong, but not always coordinated. Furiosa navigates through this with precision, using their unpredictability to maintain her position without being drawn into unnecessary risk. Dementus continues to push forward, but the consequences of his earlier actions now define his position. The instability he created limits his ability to control the present. His actions become more direct, but also more constrained. Furiosa sees this clearly, understanding that his strength is now tied to conditions he cannot fully control. Her internal state reflects a level of focus that has replaced all earlier uncertainty. She no longer questions her role or her direction. She acts with purpose, guided by everything she has learned. This clarity allows her to move forward without hesitation, even as the situation becomes more intense. The war rig continues to anchor her actions, allowing her to maintain control in an environment that offers very little of it. Her connection to it is no longer something she thinks about. It is something she relies on completely. This reliance becomes a key factor in how she navigates the conflict. There are moments where the system around her begins to falter more visibly. Coordination breaks down, timing slips, and the pressure reveals weaknesses that were once hidden. Furiosa uses these moments to her advantage, adjusting her actions to align with the shifting conditions. The environment continues to play a critical role, amplifying every movement and every decision. Furiosa responds with a level of awareness that reflects her complete adaptation to it. She does not fight the conditions. She uses them. Dementus's position becomes increasingly unstable as the conflict continues. The control he once held is now fragmented, replaced by a more reactive approach. His presence remains significant, but it is no longer dominant. The balance of power continues to shift. Furiosa's actions begin to carry a sense of inevitability. Each decision feels connected to something larger, something that has been building since the beginning. Her past, her experiences, and her understanding all come together in how she moves forward. The pacing of the story remains intense, but it retains its clarity. Every moment builds on the last, creating a sense of continuity that keeps the movement grounded. The progression feels natural, even as the stakes continue to rise. Furiosa's transformation is now complete in one sense. She has become someone who can not only survive this world but influence it. She understands its systems, its weaknesses, and its patterns. This understanding allows her to operate with a level of control that sets her apart. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but their instability remains a factor that Furiosa uses to maintain her position. She does not rely on their actions. She anticipates them. Dementus's influence continues to weaken as the consequences of his actions take hold. His presence is still felt, but it no longer defines the conflict. The balance has shifted, and Furiosa is part of that shift. By the end of this, the conflict has moved into a stage where outcomes begin to take shape. The movement is no longer about build-up. It is about consequence. Furiosa stands at the center of this, fully aware of what is happening and fully capable of responding. The story continues forward with momentum, carrying the weight of everything that has led to this point. The path ahead is no longer uncertain in the same way. It is defined by action, by decision, and by the consequences that follow. What remains now is not preparation or adaptation. It is execution. And Furiosa is ready for it. The conflict moves into a phase where hesitation no longer exists as an option. Every second carries consequence, and every action feeds directly into what comes next. Furiosa is no longer navigating uncertainty. She is operating within it with clarity, making decisions that shape not just her path but the direction of everything around her. The transformation that began quietly has now reached a point where it defines her completely. The war rig continues to serve as the core of her control, but its role becomes even more significant during this stage. It is not just a machine she understands. It is an extension of her intent. Every movement reflects her decisions, and every adjustment carries impact. The connection between her and the machine feels absolute, allowing her to operate with precision even as the environment grows more chaotic. The wasteland pushes back with full force, turning every movement into a challenge. Visibility shifts without warning, terrain becomes unpredictable, and the pressure of constant motion creates an environment where mistakes cannot be recovered easily. Furiosa does not resist this. She anticipates it, using her understanding of the environment to stay ahead of it. Dementus's presence within the conflict continues to unravel under the weight of his own actions. The unpredictability that once gave him an advantage now works against him. His decisions carry urgency rather than control, and the balance he once maintained begins to break apart. Furiosa sees this clearly, recognizing that his strength is no longer stable. There is a sequence where the movement of multiple forces begins to converge in a way that feels unavoidable. The space between tension and confrontation disappears, replaced by direct engagement. Furiosa steps into this moment without hesitation, her actions precise and aligned with everything she has learned. Her influence during this phase becomes undeniable. She is not just reacting to what is happening. She is directing it in controlled ways, shaping how events unfold through her decisions. This level of control marks a clear shift in her role. She is no longer part of the system. She is actively altering it. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but the strain they have been under affects their consistency more than ever. Their movements remain powerful, but coordination slips in critical moments. Furiosa uses this to maintain her position, moving through their unpredictability with calculated awareness. Dementus continues to push forward, but his position becomes increasingly unstable. The consequences of his earlier actions limit his ability to adapt to the current situation. His responses become more direct, but also more constrained. Furiosa recognizes this as a turning point. Her internal state reflects complete alignment between thought and action. The uncertainty that once defined her is gone. Every decision she makes is grounded in understanding, and every movement carries purpose. This clarity allows her to operate without hesitation, even in the most intense moments. The war rig remains central to a series of critical movements during this stage, and Furiosa's control over it allows her to influence outcomes directly. She does not rely on chance. She relies on precision. This approach sets her apart from others who are driven by force or instinct alone. There are moments where the system around her begins to falter more openly. Coordination breaks down, timing fails, and the pressure reveals weaknesses that can no longer be hidden. Furiosa moves through these moments with control, using them as opportunities rather than obstacles. The environment continues to amplify every action, but it no longer feels like something that works against her. It becomes part of how she operates, something she factors into every decision. This shift allows her to maintain control even when conditions are at their worst. Dementus's influence continues to weaken as the conflict progresses. The control he once held is now fragmented, replaced by reactions that struggle to keep pace with the changing situation. Furiosa sees this clearly, understanding that the balance of power has shifted. Her actions begin to carry a sense of finality. Each decision feels like a step toward a conclusion that has been building for a long time. The connection between her past and her present becomes fully integrated, guiding her without hesitation. The pacing of the story remains intense, but it retains its focus. Every moment contributes to the progression, and nothing feels unnecessary. The build-up from earlier parts continues to support the movement, ensuring that everything feels earned. Furiosa's transformation is now complete in a way that defines her completely. She is no longer shaped by the world around her. She shapes it through her actions. This shift marks the peak of her journey so far. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but their instability remains a factor that Furiosa uses to her advantage. She does not rely on their actions. She anticipates and moves around them. Dementus's position becomes increasingly unstable, and the consequences of his earlier decisions begin to close in around him. His presence is still significant, but it no longer dominates the conflict. The balance has shifted, and Furiosa stands at the center of that shift. The conflict has reached a stage where outcomes begin to solidify. The movement is no longer about buildup or transition. It is about execution and consequence. Furiosa is no longer preparing for what comes next. She is creating it. The story continues forward without slowing, carrying the momentum into what feels like the final stretch of this phase. The foundation has been tested, the conflict has evolved, and the outcome is beginning to take shape. What remains is not uncertainty. It is the result of every decision, every action, and every moment that has led to this point. And Furiosa stands ready to face it without hesitation. The movement of the story reaches a point where everything feels locked into motion, as if the outcome is no longer something that can be avoided or redirected. The conflict has progressed beyond tension and escalation. It now exists in the space where decisions define results in real time. Furiosa stands in the center of this shift, fully aligned with the path she has been building toward from the very beginning. The war rig continues to operate as the core of her control, but its role now carries a sense of final purpose. Every movement feels deliberate, every adjustment connected to something larger. It is no longer about maintaining balance. It is about using what she has to shape what comes next. Furiosa handles it with complete confidence, her actions flowing without hesitation. The environment pushes back with relentless intensity. The wasteland offers no relief, no pause, and no space for error. Conditions shift rapidly, forcing constant adaptation. Furiosa moves through this with clarity, reading every change as it happens and adjusting before it becomes a problem. This level of awareness allows her to stay ahead, even when the situation feels overwhelming. Dementus's position continues to weaken under the weight of his own choices. The unpredictability that once gave him control now works against him more than ever. His actions become more direct, but also more limited. The chaos he created has spread too far, and it no longer serves him in the same way. Furiosa sees this clearly, recognizing that the balance has shifted in a way that cannot be reversed. There is a sequence where the movement of forces narrows into something more focused, more direct. The space between confrontation and outcome becomes smaller, and every action carries immediate consequence. Furiosa steps into this moment with complete control, her decisions precise and grounded in everything she has learned. Her influence during this phase is no longer subtle or indirect. It is clear, visible, and undeniable. The way events unfold around her reflects the choices she makes. This is where her transformation reaches its peak in terms of capability. She is no longer just influencing outcomes. She is defining them. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but their instability remains a factor that works against them. Their actions are strong, but not always aligned, and this lack of coordination creates openings. Furiosa moves through these moments with calculated precision, avoiding unnecessary risk while maintaining control. Dementis continues to push forward, but his position is now shaped more by reaction than intention. The control he once held has fractured, and his ability to adapt is limited by the instability around him. Furiosa recognizes this as the final stage of his decline within the conflict. Her internal state reflects complete certainty. There is no hesitation, no doubt, and no conflict left within her. Every action she takes is aligned with her understanding of the situation. This clarity allows her to move forward without hesitation, even as the stakes reach their highest point. The war rig remains central to everything unfolding, its presence tying together multiple elements of the conflict. Furiosa's control over it allows her to maintain direction even as conditions become more intense. She uses it not just as a tool, but as a means of shaping the flow of events. There are moments where the system around her breaks down more visibly than ever before. Coordination fails, timing collapses, and the pressure reveals weaknesses that can no longer be contained. Furiosa moves through these moments with control, using them to her advantage rather than being affected by them. The environment continues to amplify every action, but it no longer feels unpredictable to her. It feels understood. She factors it into every decision, using it as part of her strategy rather than something she must overcome. This shift allows her to maintain control even when conditions are at their worst. Dementis' influence continues to diminish as the conflict reaches this stage. His presence is still felt, but it no longer defines the direction of events. The balance has shifted fully, and Furiosa stands as a central force within that shift. Her actions begin to carry a sense of finality that reflects how far she has come. Each decision feels connected to the entire journey that led her here. The past, the present, and everything she has learned come together in how she moves forward. The pacing of the story remains intense, but it holds its clarity. Every moment contributes to the progression, and nothing feels out of place. The build-up from earlier parts continues to support this phase, ensuring that everything feels earned. Furiosa's transformation is now complete in every sense. She has become someone who not only survives this world but commands her place within it. She understands its systems, its weaknesses, and its patterns, and she uses that understanding to shape outcomes. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but their instability remains a factor that Furiosa navigates with precision. She does not rely on their actions. She anticipates and moves around them. Dementis' position reaches a point where his influence can no longer sustain itself. The consequences of his earlier actions close in around him, limiting his ability to control what happens next. Furiosa recognizes this as the culmination of everything that has been building. The conflict has reached a stage where resolution begins to form. The movement is no longer about escalation. It is about consequence and outcome. Furiosa stands at the center of this, fully aware of what is happening and fully capable of guiding it. The story continues forward into what feels like the final stretch of this journey. The foundation has been tested, the conflict has unfolded, and the outcome is beginning to take shape in a way that cannot be reversed. What remains now is the completion of what has already been set in motion. The choices have been made, the path has been defined, and Furiosa is ready to see it through to its end. The final stretch does not arrive with relief. It comes with a tightening of everything that has been set in motion, as if the world itself is closing in around the choices that have already been made. There is no space left for hesitation, no room for retreat. Furiosa moves forward with complete clarity, fully aware that what happens now will define everything that follows. The war rig remains at the center of her control, but its role now carries a sense of culmination. Every movement feels like part of a larger conclusion, something that has been building since the very beginning of her journey. Furiosa handles it with precision, her actions flowing without hesitation or doubt. There is no separation between thought and movement anymore. Everything is aligned. The wasteland continues to press against every action, refusing to offer stability even in these final moments. Conditions remain unpredictable, forcing constant awareness. Furiosa does not resist this pressure. She works within it, using her understanding of the environment to maintain control. What once felt overwhelming now feels manageable because she has learned how to read it. Dementus's position reaches a critical point during this phase. The instability that has been growing around him finally begins to take full effect. His actions, once driven by calculated disruption, now feel constrained by the consequences of everything that has come before. He is still dangerous, but his control over the situation is no longer what it was. Furiosa sees this clearly, not with satisfaction, but with understanding. She recognizes that his downfall is not sudden. It is the result of choices that have built up over time. This realization reinforces something within her. Control is not just about power in the moment. It is about how decisions shape what comes next. There is a sequence where everything narrows into a focused confrontation, where movement becomes direct and outcomes feel immediate. Furiosa steps into this moment without hesitation. Her actions are precise, grounded in everything she has learned, and carried out with complete confidence. Her influence during this stage is absolute. She is no longer guiding events from within. She is directing them openly, shaping how the conflict resolves through her decisions. This is the point where her transformation is fully realized in action. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but the strain they have been under affects them more than ever. Their movements are powerful, but coordination breaks down in critical moments. Furiosa navigates through this with precision, using their instability to maintain her advantage. Dementus continues to push forward, but his actions are now limited by the instability around him. The chaos he once controlled now restricts his ability to adapt. His presence remains strong, but it no longer defines the outcome. Furiosa recognizes this as the final stage of his influence within the conflict. Her internal state remains completely steady. There is no hesitation, no conflict, and no uncertainty. Every decision she makes is clear and deliberate. This clarity allows her to move forward without distraction, even as the situation reaches its most intense point. The war rig continues to serve as the foundation of her control, allowing her to maintain direction even as everything around her shifts. She uses it with precision, not just to move, but to shape the flow of events in ways that align with her intent. There are moments where the system around her breaks down entirely, where coordination fails and structure collapses under pressure. Furiosa moves through these moments with control, using them as opportunities rather than obstacles. This ability sets her apart from everyone else involved. The environment continues to amplify every action, but it no longer feels unpredictable to her. It feels understood, something she can account for in every decision. This understanding allows her to maintain control even in the most unstable conditions. Dementus's influence continues to diminish as the conflict reaches its peak. His presence is still felt, but it no longer carries the same weight. The balance has shifted completely, and Furiosa stands at the center of that shift. Her actions begin to carry a sense of resolution. Each decision feels like a step toward the conclusion of everything that has been building. The connection between her past and her present is fully realized in how she moves forward. The pacing of the story remains intense, but it holds its clarity. Every moment contributes to the progression, and nothing feels unnecessary. The build-up from earlier parts continues to support this final stretch, ensuring that everything feels earned. Furiosa's transformation is now complete in every way. She is no longer defined by what she has endured. She is defined by what she has become. Her understanding of the world, her control over her actions, and her ability to shape outcomes all come together in this moment. The war boys continue to act with intensity, but their instability remains something Furiosa navigates with precision. She does not rely on their actions. She anticipates and moves around them. Dementus's position reaches its final stage within the conflict. The consequences of his actions fully surround him, limiting his ability to influence what happens next. Furiosa recognizes this as the conclusion of his role in shaping the outcome. By the end of this section, the conflict has reached a point where resolution is no longer distant. It is forming in real time, shaped by every decision that has been made. Furiosa stands at the center of this, fully aware of what is happening and fully capable of bringing it to completion. The story continues forward into its final phase, carrying the weight of everything that has led to this point. The path is no longer uncertain. It is defined, and Furiosa is ready to follow it through to the end. What remains is not about preparation or escalation. It is about conclusion and the consequences that come with it. The story enters a phase where everything that has been set in motion begins to close in on itself. The movement is no longer expanding outward. It is tightening, pulling every decision, every action, and every consequence into a single direction. Furiosa stands at the center of this convergence, fully aware that the path ahead is no longer about choice in the same way. It is about completion. The war rig continues to carry her forward, but now it feels less like a tool of control and more like a final extension of everything she has become. Every movement it makes reflects her intent with complete precision. There is no hesitation, no adjustment that comes too late. Everything happens exactly when it needs to. This level of control is not forced. It feels natural, built through everything she has learned. The wasteland remains relentless, offering no relief even as the conflict approaches its final moments. The environment does not soften. It continues to challenge every movement, every decision, and every attempt at control. Furiosa moves through it with a calm that comes from understanding. She does not fight the conditions. She anticipates them and uses them. Dementus's presence within the conflict reaches its most fragile point. The control he once held is no longer intact. His actions feel driven by urgency rather than strategy, and the instability he created now surrounds him completely. He is still dangerous, but the balance has shifted beyond recovery. Furiosa sees this clearly. There is a sequence where everything narrows into direct confrontation, where the distance between cause and effect disappears. Actions lead immediately to consequences, and there is no space left for delay. Furiosa steps into this moment with absolute clarity. Every decision she makes is deliberate, and every movement carries purpose. Her influence during this phase is total. She is no longer guiding or shaping events from within. She is determining how they unfold. The control she has built over time now defines the outcome of what is happening around her. This is where her transformation reaches its fullest expression. The war boys continue to move with intensity, but their instability becomes even more apparent under this level of pressure. Their actions remain powerful, but coordination breaks down in ways that create openings. Furiosa moves through these moments with precision, using their unpredictability to maintain control. Dementus continues to push forward, but his ability to shape events is almost entirely gone. The chaos he once controlled now limits him, forcing reactions that come too late or without direction. Furiosa recognizes this as the final stage of his presence within the conflict. Her internal state remains completely steady. There is no hesitation, no doubt, and no conflict left within her. Every action is aligned with her understanding of the situation. This clarity allows her to move forward without distraction, even as everything reaches its peak.